100%. Massive things coming. Let's take it over a little bit to a longer discussion in terms of what can come next to it. That is the NBA playoffs are currently going on, Greg.
Let's go!
The first discussion that we have to go over is Mavs Warriors. They just played game one. The Warriors obviously came out on top by a big standard. Some key takeaways from the game. Mavericks didn't look necessarily bad, just didn't get the win. Andrew Wiggins scratched the mother F out of Luka's face. And
Dude, like what the hell?
Yeah, that was
it looked like he looked like Scar from The Lion King.
Yeah.
Like what the hell?
So my big place comes from I'll start it off right here on this question. You were starting a franchise tomorrow. Would you rather have Luka or Steph?
Luka.
Oh wow, you said that with no thought. Okay.
Yeah, Luka's like 24 and he's dropping 30 a game and stuff, and he's already. Yeah, and by the way, before we get too far in this conversation, I just want to say, I apologize to Luka for saying that he needs another play and he needs someone else to advance further enough. Did you? He decimated the Suns, man. He had 27 points at halftime, which was the same amount of points the entire Phoenix Suns had.
Agreed, Greg. But guess what? He just got mollywopped in the Western Conference Finals in Game 1. So he's whatever level you here's your issue. You thought he needed it to get to the Western Conference Final. I, until he makes it, think he needs it to get to the NBA Finals. So if he does make the Finals this year, erase this tape.
I think what I also appreciate about this too is that this is kind of like this is kind of similar to last year with the Trae Young coming out party that we had. Yeah, very similar.
Which is amazing that they were traded.
Isn't it? Like, think about it. Like, I don't think they are the same. Actually, scratch that. I think the Hawks are a way better team with Luka on that team.
Yeah.
I think they are.
Oh, really?
Just the talent that they have around that they have.
I think Trae's their
Atlanta.
Perfect guard.
But I'm also like just thinking about it in the top of my head. Like, if you put Luka on that team right now, with like, I'm like thinking blanking on some of the guys. John Collins, Clint Capella, Daniil Hunter.
I was just say Hunter's the big one. Bogdanovich.
Bogdanovich,
yeah, DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Huerter, Daniel Gallinari, Jalen Johnson, Onika Okongwu, Will. I didn't know Sweet Lemon Pepper.
Yeah, you put Luka on that team. I feel like that would be an impressive team to work with. I think Trae would be good on the Mavericks, but on this Mavericks, though, I think he wouldn't be the predominant. He would be the predominant scorer, but I don't know if he would be putting up the same type of numbers, if that makes sense.
I think that if Trae was on this Mavs team, they would be a lottery pick, and that is not a disrespectful thing to the team because they've been playing well, or to Trae because they've been playing well. Trae gets a million people involved. The Hawks, I do think Trae, I'm not going to say is a better fit because Luka is, I think, a top 5 player right now. Him and Jimmy Butler are playing absolutely crazy lights out. Tatum, I love. Giannis still up there. But if you put Luka on the Hawks, I don't know if he provides the type of scoring Trae provides, which is depth. Luka can bang threes, don't get me wrong, but Trae being able to pull up from anywhere is crazy. And the fact that Luka likes to get to the block, turn his back around, do a little from the free throw, fade away, and get in, and that's totally fine. But that's also the Mavericks are built around that. The Hawks are built around Trae as of right now, and I think they're two perfect fits.
Okay, that's completely understandable
but
in that case.
Let's get back to the Western Conference Finals.
Let's do it.
So Mavs, Warriors. The Warriors come out. I mean, they're one of the deepest teams I think I've ever seen. They have Dre, they got Clay, they got Steph, they got Wiggins, they got Poole. They have so many people that are just killers. And I think that they are just going to be too much for the Mavericks to bear as a whole. But I do think the Mavericks are another top 30 player away from serious back-to-back conversations.
Yeah, part of the reason why I also brought up the Hawks surprise from last year is that because they have a star player that is showing out the way that he is, but I also think that they are hitting their ceiling at the right time.
Yes.
Because I think, because the thing that's interesting, and I didn't realize this either, The Mavs play very well against teams with bigs like the Jazz and the Suns because they can take advantage of that to a degree. The Warriors are a little different because they don't have a big. Like Draymond is considered their big, and he's like 6'6", 6'7", which is very unorthodox to say the least. But they're aggressive and they can spread you out and they can attack you on defensive perimeter, which is something that they take a lot of pride in. You don't think of it because when you think of the Warriors, you think of the Splash Brothers and you think of just range everywhere. But they are a very good defensive team.
Agreed.
And I think that's going to be the challenge for the Mavericks is that they can't exploit the middle of their offense anymore because of that case. So I'm curious to see how the rest of the series goes. I'm curious because I think if the Mavericks don't win game 2, I think this series ends in 5.
Yeah, it's tough because, like I said, the Mavs didn't play necessarily bad. They just didn't beat the Warriors. The Mavs need the game almost to go. I don't want to say perfect, but they need the game to go damn near 90% their way for them to continue to be, just because of how insanely deep. But I will say, I could see it going 6. I think the Mavericks, if Dinwiddie, Brunson, if they get hot and they start banging threes like they did against the Suns, that is an impressive roster that is built around one of the most talented stars in the NBA in Luka.
Yeah, Dinwiddie dropped 30 in that game 7 against the Suns, which is impressive to say the least. So he needs to show up. Jalen Brunson is playing for a contract because Brunson's going to make
50 that one game, didn't he?
God yeah. Jalen Brunson's going to make a big contract this offseason in free agency.
Agreed.
So if he shows up in the Western Conference Finals, he's going to make some bank this offseason on teams that have the cap and are desperate for any type of guy that can be considered a star-level player. You could argue that Brunson played in Game 1 against the Jazz and the way that he showed up in that case, that he played like a star.
Yep.
So if you can take him away from Luka, maybe he shines a little bit more in all seriousness. But I think the game plan has to change. I'm curious to see what Jason Kidd does in game 2 because of the fact that it's a different style of team they're playing compared to what they originally had with the Jazz and the Suns.
So let's talk about that. Jason Kidd, his last, notable moment was being basically chased out by the front office in Milwaukee after the team wanted him to stay. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a terrific coach. And I saw a couple clips of him calling for traps and telling players where to go and saying stay home and like being an active coach, and I'm really, really happy he's a Dallas Maverick right now. Like I think that he's perfect for that roster.
Yeah, I get a lot of slack to guys that are considered retreads because I'm of the belief too that like how many opportunities can you give one guy? Because I feel like there's a lot of NBA coaches that kind of fit that mold of like guys that will just always have a job no matter what it seems. And I don't feel like that's good because I think
who was the one out in Sacramento?
George Karl?
Is it George Karl? Yeah, I kept saying George Carlin. George Karl, Van Gundy, Bud.
Both Van Gundys actually.
Yeah.
Jeez. Mike D'Antoni.
Oh my Lord, Mike D'Antoni. That jack.
But yeah, it's kind of that. It's just that thing where like retreads, I kind of give a bad discredit to because I think how often can you like keep hearing the same voice or that I'm of new beliefs, new coaches, new opportunities and stuff like that. But I think there's something to be said though from learning from your previous positions because his first job was in Brooklyn when they had Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and they were playing and it was like a clash of styles to a degree. He goes to Milwaukee. Giannis credits him for being huge in his development role, and it's something that I think worked out for him because he was able to be around younger players instead of the veteran types. So now he's in Dallas, which was a franchise that drafted him, by the way. So he's going back there. He has a strong relationship with the franchise and the front office and all that. He gets to play with a top 10 player in the NBA right now and tries to guide him with that case because I think what helped with Luka is that Luka is being coached by a guy who is one of the greatest point guards of our generation. So I think he kind of takes it to heart when he tells you what you should work on and what he needs to do. So there's that
and
motivation.
Was a bigger point guard. I mean, Jason Kidd is a bigger point guard, meaning that, he might be the perfect guy to coach Luka. Shocker.
Yeah, one of my first memories of the NBA was the Nets and Lakers series in the NBA Finals. So like I remembered that team with Jason Kidd and Richard Jefferson and Vince Carter and all that. Like they they were a good team. So like I think that you add that respect to the degree, and you add guys that want to learn. And I think it's just been working out so well for them. I do think Jason Kidd was the perfect coach for Luka, and they're showing it too. And Kidd is starting the opportunity to show what he can do with a team who's willing to listen.
Yep.
And that's something that I think that was desperately missing in Brooklyn.
Agreed. Who do you think comes out as the series MVP? I think that the most integral person on the court for either team, to be fully honest, is probably Andrew Wiggins. Reason being, I've attacked him for being a fucking fraud before, but then I fell in love with calling Ben Simmons a fucking fraud. Steph's going to Steph. If Klay shoots lights out, it's over. Draymond needs to play defensively. Jordan Poole is such a good 2 right now. But if Wiggins can keep the core of the backups running high, that's just how they're going to absolutely smother the Mavericks.
Yeah, that's that core with like Kuminga and Looney, who are going to get the playing time, which Kuminga is looking very good, by the way, as a rookie. Yeah,
and Porter,
I love that.
Oh my god, dude,
Porter looks good too. Yeah, this is. I can't wait to see if Gary Payton comes back at some point.
Oh, I would love that for him.
If he comes back during the Western Conference Finals, like the Warriors are winning the championship.
Yeah,
like that. You add that defensive presence on that team, you're done. But me personally, like you would think Wiggins would have to get the nod from this perspective, because I think he did take a lot of pride in being the one that's relied upon to try to shut down Luka, which, by the way, credit to him. Who would have thought that he would transition so well into being a defensive presence on this team? He was able to fit a role. He wasn't like he's nowhere close to being like a number 1 overall level player. But there's something to be said for a guy that has a career for this long, finds a role that fits him well, and he is on point to win a ring. So
agreed.
There's something to be said for that. I personally still think just because he's the catalyst of the defense and he's going to be a different type of player with regards to what they were using, I think it's going to be Draymond to a degree.
I think it's
because I look at him, he's an undersized big, but he plays the game differently, and it's going to be something that the Mavs have to game plan around, because it's a different style play than what they were used to.
Let's transition to the West, or Mr. West, the East over here.
West.
The West. Thank you. We got Jason Tatum and the Celtics against the Heat. The Heat with Jimmy Butler. The funniest part about Celtics Heat for me, Greg, was that the Celtics came out super strong, and then Jimmy Butler did Jimmy Butler shit.
Dude, that third quarter was incredible. I don't even know what happened. I don't know what happened. Jason Tatum, I think, turned over the ball 5 times in that quarter.
Yeah, it was absurd.
But I also can imagine, to the point, too, that I think the Celtics are just thrown off out of whack, first off, because Marcus Smart wasn't playing.
Yep.
So Jason Tatum was the predominant.
Nor was Al Horford.
The predominant. He's in COVID protocol.
Oh, he's back. He's back tonight.
Horford's back?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. And Derek White apparently is out as well because of I guess him and his wife, their baby came early, so he's not playing in game 2 tonight. He was big off the bench for them, so that's gonna be a bit of a miss, somewhat. But I think adding Horford back and getting that presence down under is going to be big for them in the end. But not having Marcus Smart, I think, is going to come back to hurt them in game 2, because I think Jason Tatum off ball is better, much, much, much better for making the offense flow as well. And plus, Marcus Smart's is the defense player of the year for a reason. Like, the dude just hustles everywhere.
He's an elite defender. The one thing I'll say is that this Heat team is built damn near identically to when they played the Lakers in the finals, and it's the craziest part about it all is that Jimmy Butler is like the most Pat Riley guy of all time. He's gonna work his tail off. I love Jimmy Butler. James Buckets. I mean, the fact that he went through Chicago to Minnesota. He took I need to see tape of him taking the B team and just molly-whopping the A team in Minnesota. He goes to Philly, and they choose, basically, Tobias Harris over him, which is
not working out well. Tobias
Harris is literally just a role player anymore. He was never anything more. Jimmy Butler's a god freak, man. Him, Bam down there, love Harrow. I think that whoever wins the East, I don't know. It's tough, dude. The Warriors are so good. And this Celtics team, like you said, obviously had a ton of issues in game 1. I would rather lose game 1 or like have a shot to win game 1 and lose it without Marcus Smart and Al Horford then you know what I mean? Like that makes you be like, oh, dude, we can easily beat this team. Come on now.
Well, here's the thing too to think about too. They were leading a good bit of that game. Yeah. What screwed them was that third quarter. Like if that third quarter didn't go the way that it did, the Celtics would have won that game.
Yeah.
So there is something to be said in all seriousness for the fact that they just, I don't know what the hell happened. They just played dogged defense on him. They had Jason Tatum turn over the ball, and that was the end of it. So, but I cannot count out the Celtics after this whatsoever. I think they just need to, when Marcus Smart returns, that's going to be big for them in the end, because then they can at least get their predominant ball carrier back. But also at the same time, like I truly do believe that this is going to be a long series. This will be 7 easily. And I hope. I really do. I think Celtics are going to win game 2 tonight. I think they will.
Is it in Boston?
No, game 2's in Miami.
Okay. I just can never remember the spread there.
Which, by the way, during the game, they showed Pat Riley and Alonzo Mourning sitting next to each other, like in a suite and stuff like that. If that's not like intimidating and also just like very Godfather-esque to a degree, I don't know what is. That's
Get
awesome.
It in the morning like Alonzo Branto. I think that Pat Riley is, I mean, he is snake, but I love that dude. He's such an old geezer anymore. I love him. On the Celtics side of the ball, was it one of the greatest moves in NBA history for Brad Stevens to go to the front office?
It seems like it.
Not even being a Jag. Like, I thought he was a really good coach. When he went to front office, I was like, it seems kind of a weird decision, but I'll accept it. And, dude, they finally got, I mean, this is Tatum's third Eastern Conference final, so I understand that. But at the same time, this is the best team that I've seen out of the Celtics since maybe the Big Three.
Which is scary because let's think about this too. Like we cannot discredit Danny Ainge in utmost degree. No. Like I know Danny Ainge was like hesitant about giving up draft picks. Team. He did. He drafted pretty much everyone on this team. He was also he brought in Horford originally before they let him go, and then Stevens was like, he fits so well. Like we have to give him another chance. So he knew right away that this was the best way to build a team. And then you get someone like Udoka who also kind of prides himself on defense, and then kind of was able to build that around it and realized that he has young stars to be able to build around it too. Yeah, Stevens was smart to be able to build this team. I'm curious to see what would happen, like if he was in a similar boat to Ainge where he just had like a massive amount of draft picks, and if he would be selling them off, or if he would like actually do the scouting and try to like get into that to want to get the next big guy or something like that. But to a degree, if the Celtics end up somehow getting to the NBA Finals in this case, we do have to give Stevens some credit because of the fact that he helped get this team ready to go for this season at least, which was big. And I think the Horford signing was sneaky great for what it ended up being. Like he dropped 30 in a game, like in the last round. Dude, like that's something to be said.
He looked so good.
And he's a decade past his prime.
Yep.
Like let's be clear about that. So that's saying a lot right there.
No, I agree, man. All right. Who is your MVP of this series? And we'll take a quick commercial break and be back with some lottery talk.
Just because, I could easily say Marcus Smart.
That's where I thought when you said just because, that's where I thought you were
going. I could say Marcus Smart just because in all seriousness, but no, it's going to be a great series. I still think it'll go 7. I think the Celtics are somehow going to pull it off just because I like that team a lot. And I love this Heat team. I love the way they built this team. So I won't be disappointed with whoever represents the Eastern Conference in some sort of way, but I think it'll be the Celtics. And I think it'll be the guy that you have said I hated, and to a degree I kind of did when he was drafted. Fine, I'll get snack for it, but I think he has to step up in a couple of games, and I think it'll be Jaylen Brown.
You did hate him. Denny says basketball sucks. It's because you're short. Ha.
Yes.
For me, Greg,
stocky is the correct term.
It's one person. It's Jimmy Butler. If the Heat make the final, it's because of Jimmy Butler. That's all it is. We're going to take a quick commercial break, guys. We'll be right back to talk draft lottery, Saban versus Jimbo Fisher, Hockey Talkie, and the PGA Championship.